Thank you very much, Stephen. Always a pleasure to work with you on these. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you're hailing from. And I see such an exciting lineup of countries here. A few that I haven't been to, but they're all on my list. And one of the wonderful things about Hult is that you get a chance to travel, to meet people, to get to know all these different cultures. You probably heard from Hult that we have approximately 80% global students on any given campus and 20% local students. So an insanely global environment at Hult here, of which we're all very proud. So it's great to be with you today. As Stephen announced, I am a professor of strategy, innovation, economics, and futures at Hult International Business School. And yes, I teach across campuses. You'll see one of the campus floors behind me. I'm based in San Francisco, but I am traveling globally across Hult world, as it were, and do so with gusto because you all are the global generation, and so am I, and we live that. So that's who I am, and I came to Hult, as Stephen said, from an industry background, and as such, what you need to know about me is that I am not a purebred academic, as it were, but rather somebody who has been a practitioner, continues to be a practitioner, as I lead my own business, as Stephen outlined. Cambrian Futures is our consultancy. Cambrian Designs is our concept design company that got spun off of Cambrian Futures. And so I still am very much a practitioner, a leader of a small team now that is very entrepreneurial and trying to provide insights and new concepts, new product ideas for the cognitive era, as we call it, which is the era in which we're automating certain cognitive processes in order to live more efficient, but also richer and more value-adding lives. And what that means, we're going to unpack here in a moment. One of the topics that are very near and dear to my heart is the question of the future of work, right? Future of work is everywhere these days. Some of it is hopelessly overhyped, but it is nonetheless a sustained thrust of change. Change in how we are productive, how we live our working lives, how we cooperate, how we collaborate, how we co-create, and how we transact with each other, how we communicate. The crisis, the pandemic has made very clear that in fact we are on our path into this hybrid world of digital and physical in different situations. You get different solutions, and you're going to have to get used to being agile, toggling back and forth in how you work and modulating your own style to fit that. That's number one. So there is a style question, there's a craft question, right? You have to learn how to deal with that in a productive, collaborative way to make sure you drive forward your businesses. And then there is the question of automation, right? And this is where a lot of the hype goes completely overboard, but there are still some things that we need to take very seriously. So the question of how much of your current job or the job that you think you want to hold will be done by machines, by ever smarter cognitive machines, driven by AI and data, which is the new oil, some say, the new sunlight, other people say. How much of that will machines be taking over? That will determine what your future job design looks like. It will determine what kinds of skills you acquire. And those skills will, of course, in turn determine what kinds of careers you will have, right? Because careers are built by evolving yourself, growing yourself to have different skills for higher level jobs. Excuse me. Excuse me for that. Okay. I want to ask you a question to get our juices flowing before I start talking. I want you to talk, but I want you to talk virtually, okay? I'm going to share with you my screen, and this is a quick Mentimeter poll that I have put together. It's not really as much of a poll as it is a way for me to elucidate your opinions, okay? Stephen will keep me honest on this. If you cannot see it, then I will have to course correct. But assuming you all can see it, then please type in this number into menti.com, okay, and give me your answer. Are you concerned about automation? Why or why not? That gives me a good idea of your mental state, okay? Go on ahead. Okay, Stephen, if you could monitor the chat thread and let me know if we are on course here. Some people are not seeing it. Yep, type the number in exactly. And then just comment away, right? Are you concerned or are you not concerned, and why? It's anonymous, so I don't think your names will be shown on this. So if that makes you feel more secure, that should be the case. Okay, I'm going to refresh this to see what answers we're getting. New work will always be, I don't know how you ended the sentence, but new work will always be had or evolving. Skills can be developed. Yes, I am worried. No, I'm not worried, but tell us why, right? Tell us why. Let's see. No, because at the end, I think the application may be truncating what you're rating, what you're writing. Okay, maybe, right? Maybe. I understand maybe. We're all ambivalent about this thing, right? Taking over every field. Yes, that's definitely coming. It's definitely permeating every field, whether it's controlling us, which is sort of implied in taking over control. We'll have to see, right? If we get it right, and this talk is about getting it right, then we may not actually have a control issue. Okay, may replace my job. Okay, not worried, not concerned. Yeah, it's progress. Progress always requires some sacrifice. The question is, who is going to sacrifice, right? Is it all blue collar? Is it all white collar? And in this instance here, it's mostly white collar, at least initially, right? Because it's automation of the brain. So it's very, very pertinent for all of us here at Hult as we're educating leaders like you, because you'll very much be white collar workers, right? Okay, I'm embracing the progress. Okay. Let's see, lower job opportunities. Well, we'll see about that. See, lower job opportunities are not as much about cognitive processes as they are about manual processes, and they're much more difficult to automate with robots because manual processes are still very defensible, right? Robotics is coming for sure, but AI is coming faster after your brain, right? Okay, very good. A great diversity of voices here, and I love that. Let me stop sharing here. And now share my presentation, and we will dive right in, okay? So here we go. Okay. Stephen, are you seeing the main presentation, or are you seeing the slide advance?
We're seeing the main presentation, and now we are seeing, now we're seeing the whole presentation, but you can go in the presentation mode.
Okay, yeah. So now you're seeing, but you're seeing the slide cover only, right?
Yes.
Super. Okay, excellent. All right, that's exactly how we want it. So the future of work. We answered this question. Clearly, some of you are concerned, and some of you are not so concerned. Some of you are very risk embracing, and some of you are saying, well, that's the way it's always been. I don't really have a choice, even if I'm not risk embracing. And then others are saying, yes, I'm very concerned. We got to do something about this. That really it reflects the broad swath of the population, and we have to address that. We have to make sure that whether you're concerned or not, we get you on a path that enables you to integrate with and to work with machines as young leaders, as maturing leaders that will then lead other people, because you are, in essence, the shapers of the global economy, okay? That'll be you with our help. And we have to equip you to be able to do that well for your employees, the people you'll be leading in your work group, okay? your stakeholders, your customers, of course, right? And at the end of the day, also your shareholders, because how you work this will determine whether you have backlash against your business and how fruitful your business will be at the end of the day. Okay, here's another video. Here's a video that I want you to watch, and I want you to watch closely and listen to what the man is saying, and then we'll unpack that, okay?
There is always this fear the machines are taking over.
I don't think anyone can irresponsibly say, oh, don't worry, nothing will happen to jobs.
This time it might be true.
The world's people say they're not overly anxious about technology. They are deeply, deeply anxious about their jobs.
AI will impact jobs.
But we don't know what's going to come. We don't even know what new inventions are going to be.
To reinvent yourself when you're 20, it's difficult, but you do it. To do it again at 30, at 40, at 50, that's very high levels of anxiety.
But so what are we left to do then?
What are we left to do then? It's easy to imagine the predicted 66 million people poised to lose their jobs to machines, muttering the same refrain. The OECD, the intergovernmental organization that came up with that figure, estimates that 14% of jobs could be automated in industrialized countries. And though machines are most immediately coming after manufacturing and agricultural jobs, even work requiring more specialized skills could increasingly fall to automation. Goldman Sachs's chief financial officer reported that their US cash equities trading desk employed some 600 traders back in 2000. All but 2 of those positions had become automated by 2017. In these increasingly uncertain times, we ask the experts, what jobs will be created and what jobs will disappear?
There'll be some disintegration and some creation of jobs.
50 years ago, we could not have thought of software engineering as a job. Today, the whole Silicon Valley is full of that labor force.
First, obviously, it will create AI jobs, right? People who program AI, people who fix robots. But in terms of quantity, is a very, very small quantity.
We will see jobs more related to interaction with intelligent machines,
where it's symbiotic between the man and the machine. The human can do things that the machine cannot do, and together they do better.
Freeing labor from dangerous, repetitive work.
I suggest every professional, whether you're a lawyer, accountant, think about tools that emerge and how that makes you 2, 3, 4 times stronger, better, and richer for that matter.
Okay, so that's what we're here to do. Think about the things that enable you, that make you stronger, better, okay, more productive. All right. So that's what we're here to do. And I will show you how I think that can be done and what you can do about it. And I'm going to do this in a way that I can hopefully here project myself into the screen. So bear with me here for 1 second. So you can keep looking at me, but in a more integrated way, right? Because as at Hult go digital or hybrid, we always try to not forget the human being and making sure that you get all of it at the same time. Okay, so here I am. You've probably seen this feature before. It's quite neat. So I'm here to talk to you about how we do this, how we integrate between the human, the machine in a way that is symbiotic. So you can play to your strengths and don't have to compete head on with the machine, because that will be deadly, right? You can't. The machine is here to stay. It's very efficient. It's very fast. And it's getting better all the time. This is personal. When you think of me as a professor, right? This is me in the lower left-hand corner here, twice in fact, right? Once live and once in a photo, as I am coaching students in Dubai. And I very much love coaching students. It's a big part of who I am and how I teach. And it's very hands-on. So I don't just come in and lecture, you know, and then let people ask me questions, but rather I break up into work groups, into work projects. We work on real client projects. We work with raw cases from the real world. We have lots of speakers come in, and then we break out and we tackle chunks of problems in small teams. The average traditional professor, right, not at Hult, but in traditional academic environments, will come in, lecture, and get back out because they have a lot of research to do, okay? Now, the unfortunate thing is that the pure lecture part can actually be automated. because that is routine. That's a template, right? That is something that you can actually break down into discrete chunks and then package and play to every student's individual needs through smart games like the one I'm showing you on the right here. This is called One Day, and I played it in a classroom. I was part of the pre-beta pilots as well. This is a game that teaches you strategy, right, from a market development angle, teaches you strategy at a pace that you can individually determine. It understands your learning style, and it then plays up different learning styles to make you more flexible and agile, okay? And it does that in a highly personalized way. Now, to me, this game is the future when it comes to pure lectures, right? Some lectures, maybe not all lectures, but lectures on fundamentally foundational things like economic theory or industry analysis, right? For which there are established techniques that you need to learn to have the economic commercial logic of strategy down, right? You don't need to have a live professor lecturing for that. Where you need the live professor is on the left to deepen and individualize the theories that you just learned from an interactive, engaging, and individualized game. So now, if I wasn't so coaching intensive, if I was just a professor who parachutes in and lectures, I would be under threat from this game. Because this game will, at some point, in 3, 4, 5 years, and we're already, like I said, piloting this at Hult, will come after those who purely lecture on basic concepts. So all of us, including me, have to think about the, whatever it may be, 30% of our jobs, including mine, that we have to backfill with something higher value, okay? That's the whole point of this. That's also why we wrote this book, Solomon's Code, with my dear friend Mark Nitzberg, who is a computer scientist, AI scientist out of Berkeley now, and a partner in my firm. And we have written this book, Solomon's Code, Humanity in the World of Thinking Machines, which is coming out in paperback form this fall or this late summer, very affordable. And it talks to you about who is doing what around the world and how that will impact your life, our economies, and our jobs. And then what do we do about this to govern, okay? Meanwhile, of course, we have to figure out ourselves, where do we fit into this picture? That's also why we go on media. Many of my Hult colleagues and I do this, where we testify in front of political bodies, we educate people in the media to de-hype and also point the way toward solutions. We go out and we write, okay? Companies now need to start defining future generations of jobs in which we can integrate with the machine, with data science, but still play to our strengths. Currently, very few companies are doing this because they're very much focused on near-term revenue quarter by quarter. And of course, AI is fantastic because it helps with efficiencies. So you get greater results quarter on quarter, but you forget about the future and about the development of the people that are currently making up your company. We have to stop that. We have to provide incentives that enable companies to cooperate with young leaders like you, with educators and experts like me in institutions like Hult to design the future of work. Now, the first thing we have to do is look at the human being, okay, and how we fit in. This is a production run from a fourth industrial revolution production factory, okay, which is very much digital. You see this blue box up top here. That blue box is a semantic space. A semantic space describes, in software terms, what's in the box, okay? It's a virtual space, okay? And in the box is a device that is being manufactured. Let's just say, I think it shows a little car or something like that, but let's just assume this is a lamp. Like where you are sitting right now, you probably have a lamp somewhere around you. That lamp will in the future, in their factory, have a semantic space around it that describes what's the cost structure of the plant, who was involved in making it, so you can quality assure it, who are the suppliers, how bright is it supposed to shine, when does it need to be upgraded or replaced? All of those things are immensely valuable to the manufacturing process, and we welcome them. And at the same time, now That lamp, with trillions of sensors around the world that we're now making as cheaply as a grain of rice, that lamp will be sensor enabled itself. And it will sense you as you're sitting there, listening to me, engaging with the content. It will ascertain whether you're switched on or bored, hopefully not the latter, whether you're talking to somebody, what your body temperature is, whether you're running a fever, whether you are attentive or tired, okay, whether there's somebody next to you and how you relate to them, how you're looking at them, how you're talking to them. When you leave the room, who else is coming in, how often you are in the room. And outside, there's another lamp that will show us where you're going to go if you're going to take public transportation, or if you're taking your private car or an Uber, or maybe you're walking or biking. All of that is immensely valuable for building security, or even just city security, smart cities, think about that, for environmental planning, for transportation planning, for better services and a smoother transaction environment. And of course, you can easily now see how we are being assessed by machines emotionally, not just demographically, right? So whether you are tired or sick, Alexa, Amazon's Alexa, can ascertain today already. They don't do this to scare you or to profile you for the sake of profiling. They're there to sell you more stuff that's more appropriate for where you're at, okay? It's called meeting you where you're at. At the same time, you can easily imagine, if I'm being recognized and analyzed like this, how will this impact my productivity? Or will my employer's perception of my productivity change vis-a-vis my perception of my productivity? And who controls that, right? So we have to very much be aware of this. This is happening everywhere now. As you're interviewing for a new job, there is an AI that will ascertain your the veracity, the truthfulness of your statements, whether you seem confident, whether you're sweating, what your intonation is, what kinds of words you're using, okay? All of that will go into an analysis, excuse me, to analyze whether you compete well against other people that are being recorded and analyzed, and how the whole pool is comparing to people on the inside of the company that are already on the same job and doing it well. Now, if all of that sounds like science fiction, it isn't. This is happening today. Lots of companies are employing this, Unilever and Vodafone and many others, okay? And there is some backlash against it, because of course we want to make sure on one hand that you get the right job. You want the right job. You don't want a job that you're wrong for, right? You may think there is a glamorous job out there, but then really when you're in the job, you find out, and often too late, that it's not the right job for you. So you do want to be assessed for your own sake, for your own happiness. We also want the company to get the right resources, because only if the company has the right resources will it make the best product for the customers. And the customers want the best product as well. So ideally, you want this kind of thing happening, but you of course want it to happen in a respectful, human-centric way that values you for what makes you unique and what brings your skills and capabilities to the table in a way that machines can't compete with. This is a company, Beacon Force, former Hult students of mine, very bright, who have been in an alliance with a neuroscience institute that will help them develop algorithms that will run off of the data you generate on a wearable, just like this watch right here, that will analyze whether you are being productive, whether you're being switched on, whether you are being, attentive to your job, or whether you are falling behind, maybe because you're demotivated, okay? Currently, this is on an opt-in basis. Your manager can see whether they're managing well. You can see how you're performing every day. You're getting reality checks every day. HR can see what's going on with you. Total transparency. The idea was, of course, to give you, most of whom are, millennials or starting to be Gen Z, better opportunity to be inspired, to learn at work. So managers learn how to challenge you, how to inspire you, how to stimulate you, and how to have you grow faster in ways that you want to grow. Now, obviously, you can also see how this will have an impact on performance assessment, productivity assessment, So more and more, we are being metricized. Metricized means your metrics are going to be compared to those of other people and to machines. So very clearly, while we gain these super valuable insights, we also have to figure out how that makes us more or less human and how we secure our own role in this whole environment, because it can't all be about the machine. Here, this is getting now into brain-computer interfaces. We are now, through ventures like Elon Musk's Neuralink or Brian Johnson's kernel, who incidentally is a customer, a client for one of my student projects right at this moment. Brian was the founder of Venmo, super brilliant man, who is now helping us understand with the helmet, looking much sleeker than this, whether we lead healthy lives, whether we sleep well, right? Whether we re-energize, right? Whether we are happy, okay? This is, again, very promising. And of course, we need to safeguard this to make sure that our voice, our agency, in terms of how we want to work, what kind of productivity suits us best, how we want to live our lives, that is factored into all of these metrics. As we get into the brain, 100 billion neurons are colliding with 340 trillion IP addresses we're creating around the world. Think about that noise level. Think about what a huge mess that is. Now, it's not garbage by any means. It's a wealth of potential insights. We can glean a lot about us and our productivity and our world around us by making sense of this noise, right? And that's, of course, where AI comes in and where modern data science comes in. Really important to note here is that at this moment, we're only really structuring 20% of all data that we are harvesting. And we're only really making meaning of, making sense of 0.5% of all that data. So think about the immense wealth of insight that is still to be had with cognitive automation. So we are, in effect, creating the digital nervous system of society. And we, with our brains, are a node in that digital ecosystem, okay, digital nervous system. And eventually we will get to a level where we will have 100 billion nodes in our brain become part of that digital nervous system of society. So it's an immensely stimulating vision, but one that's also scary if we don't influence it. We will be generating about 174 zettabytes of data every year doing that. And that is a world that will require new approaches, new business models, new business designs, use case designs that are ethical as well as productive and efficient. And that is the world you will be shaping. You will be determining how that works because you are the business designers of the future. So how will we live our agency in the future? How will we develop ourselves, grow, and prosper? How will you lead others? Because you're going to have to. You're going to be a leader. That means you have responsibility. It means you're building a business that makes money, but business is not about money. Business is about people. You're here to make lives better for people around the world. That is the very justification of business. It's not about becoming rich. You get rich in the process, but you should only get rich if you make lives better for people, right? So we have to think about how we lead customers, stakeholders, employees in this brave new world, which gets us to the machine, right? Think about the confluence now of data science and artificial intelligence, right? They're sort of one complex with brain-computer interfaces, like I showed you just now, and quantum computing, which is still about 5 to 10 years out in terms of mass customization. But you know what? That is going to be when you hit the turbo button on your careers. So when quantum computing comes in, it can make sense of the brain. It can use all that data with the help of AI algorithms, and we will be able to do so much more than we are today. So there is going to be a further acceleration of this, and we must shape this now ahead of time before that runs away from us. The first view here is the business model-centric view, right? How is productivity changing? View number one, it's about business models. You know, if we generate 4,000 gigabytes of data every day with one autonomous car, think about what we're going to be generating with 2 billion cars. Unbelievable wealth of data about the people inside it as much as it is about the car. Of course, it's about how the car will interact with the environment, tracking the car, like tracking delivery trucks. And it's about the performance of the car, how safe it is, the traffic flow. But it's also about you and your consumers, your customers on the inside of the car, right? Amazing amount of business model change here, because all of a sudden a car company can get put service out there that has to do with giving you the best possible experience as you're in the car, not just buying the car. That will change, of course, what kinds of people the auto company is going to hire. Are they going to hire more petrol heads who build, combustion engines, more designers of exteriors, more mechanical engineers building chassis? Of course, those jobs will always be around, but they're going to be hiring more and more of AI designers, data scientists, user experience designers to harness, right, the value that they created, okay? So this is a further change in what kinds of jobs will be demanded. Now, that gets us to the jobs-based view, which means what kinds of jobs are going to be in demand? Are the mechanical engineers going to go away? No, they're not going to go away. They're still going to be there, but there is, relatively speaking, going to be fewer of them. We are now disintegrating jobs and packaging them into new profiles where some degree of mechanical engineering will still be needed, of course, and that needs to be paired with some degree of data science, some degree of user experience, and some degree of business design. Those are the jobs of the future. Now, some people are saying, but if we all get measured, right, then are we looking at the next feudalism? What chance do I even get to redesign my job, right? And that is exactly true, my friends. You have to now get in there, study this alongside us, and help us shape this so that this will be the era of flexibility and of agency, where you get to shape your job profiles, not let others objectify you, metricize you, chunk you up into little parcels, compare you to machines, and then just pick little things here and there that they want from you, doing the rest with the machine. If you do that, you will get picked apart piece by piece. And that is one thing we do not want. So we do not want the retailerization of work. Taylor was a management scholar who packaged all of us up into discrete little pieces that could be measured when it came to the Industrial Revolution. We do not want to repeat that, only on a higher level. We want a different paradigm. We want a paradigm that is more fulfilling to you, richer in growth, rather than richer in just unpacking and repacking. So this all challenges our notions of human value, right? These are robots from Japan. There's a 70% cost reduction at the hotel where this is being put in place, the Henna Hotel in Japan. Obviously, this is not for the Ritz-Carlton. This is for the traveling salesperson that will, that doesn't really want to deal with people. They want to come in after a night of deal making and drinking, and they want to fall into bed and get out early in the morning to catch the train home. Okay, but you can easily see how this kind of thing will work for certain parts of the economy. But if this is going to be how we run the entire economy, then you can kiss your jobs goodbye. And that's what we don't want, okay? That's what we don't want, which is why we should take number 2, the task-based view, okay? The task-based view says we are fine automating certain parts of our jobs, those jobs that are routine, that are mind-numbing, that are repetitive, that are purely quantitative and structural. And I apologize in advance to those of you who are very quantitative and love structural work, but you have to realize that you are the first in line to be automated, because the machine understands structural, quantitative very well. You will want to take those skills to understand, shape, manage, and oversee and govern the machine. But you don't want to be the king of spreadsheets, because that job is over. The machine has taken it. So this means that if you are a quantitative person, let's say like a banker, you have to think about your job profile. What are the different task compositions? There is going to be the, structuring the transaction environment, of course. That part will be taken over by blockchain and AI and data science, okay? Then there is the part of creating trust. That is an innately human thing. You may need the machine to give you data, but you as a human have to create trust with other humans. The third part is creating and growing a relationship. So the customer wants to give you more money to invest and grow, right? And that also is an innately human task. So the job of a banker isn't going to go away, but the job composition, meaning the task composition within the job, is going to change dramatically. Okay, will that mean massive job losses? No, it's been vastly overhyped, but it does mean if we just get about 30% task disruption in 60% of all jobs, that we are faced with a re-education, retraining, reskilling challenge that we have never faced before, because this is happening really fast. I can push a button and dispose or disseminate AI code and data to hundreds of millions of people today, literally in a split second, okay? And we are developing new algorithms, new data science models very quickly. So we have to also act very quickly to retrain ourselves. So now, here's a question for you. With regard to you personally, how much of your current jobs or the jobs that you want are going to be displaced? Thank you very much, Stephen. Please give me your best guess. Okay, I'm seeing here we're sort of coming out at about, somewhere between 25 and 50%, right? Which is about sort of where most of the studies are now coming out, right? That's actually a very good guess. Thank you for that. So now think about, though, what are the components of your job today that could be at risk? Do you enjoy those components? If you are very good at finance, very good at math, what parts of your job are very financial, mathematical, analytical, structural in your day? Those are the parts where you have to be very careful. If you emphasize those in your job, then you are going head to head with a machine. And again, this is where you need to parlay using those skills, not to do them to yourselves, but rather to use them to program the machine, shape it, manage it, control it, and govern it, okay? That is the task of the day. So now let me fast forward and tell you what we're gonna do with this, okay? We think in our research, based on our research, that we need to get to a symbiotic relationship. Symbiosis, of course, means there are two types of organisms, each doing something distinct that will serve the other well. And then they can get into a partnership where they both contribute equal halves. Maybe not quite half, but in this instance, we need to think about somewhere between 30 and 50% of things that you will contribute as a human to this machine symbiosis. That means we need to take the skills-based view, right? Which is the last one of the views. That means which skills are supporting you on the side of you that are defensible, okay? Of course, you want the skills that are quantitative analytical. In fact, we at Hult will be offering you more of them, more STEM courses. Why? Because you need to understand the increasing digitization and techification of the work environment. You can't do that without a minimum level of STEM skills, okay? STEM, of course, stands for scientific, technological, economic, and mathematical, okay? So yes, you need to do this, but you need to not rest there. You need to then say, what other skills that are uniquely human and that I am strong at or need to become stronger at, do I want to develop? Those are softer skills. They're emotional and social intelligence skills. And they seem less scientific, but they're not. That's a fallacy. And they're also not softer as in less important. They are sometimes less tangible, less metricized, but things like team skills, critical thinking, integrity, empathy, right? Being self-reflective, having meta-reflection about you in a social context, your ability to communicate, to be creative, to be comfortable with ambiguity. Of course, everybody says they are, but then you get a problem that is less than well-defined and you struggle. It's a normal human condition. We need to train you up on all of these soft skills to be more humanly defensible while you also come up to speed on the STEM side. So my good colleague and friend, Kai-Fu Lee, who wrote another great AI book, AI Superpowers, I highly recommend it, came up with this matrix that I think is very, very illuminating. If you are in the lower half of this graph, then you are in danger of being displaced because you are asocial. Okay, asocial not meaning you're antisocial. It just means your job is not socially focused. It doesn't depend a lot on social contact, okay? And you may be optimization based on the left side, right? If that is who you are, then you are at high risk. If you are more people focused, if you are asocial, but you're more creativity and strategy focused, you have a little more time, but the machines are coming. You really want to be in the northern hemisphere of this particular graphic, where you bring your humanity to the table, either putting a veneer, an overlay over the machine's analysis, or being purely human, but utilizing data to charge you, to power you, like being a senior executive or being a psychoanalyst, okay? Or as they say here, a social worker, okay? Somebody who does a lot of mentoring, leading, counseling, coaching. That is highly defensible. That's where we want to go, always using the machine, but not being overrun by it. So the defensible skills here are, as I started to touch, self-reflection, self-consciousness, ideation, inspiration, sense-making, conceptualization, theory development, okay? Machines can't develop theories. Machines calculate probabilities really fast. Human intimacy. I said empathy earlier, right? Feeling empathy for people, communicating that creates glue on top of which you can make decisions together. You can create new business opportunities together. So we have to fuse the defensible side with the quantitative, analytical, structural, routine side to be defensible. We can do this and play at a higher level. And this is where I'll close. I have a good friend who is a chess grandmaster. His name is Patrick Wolf. He's in our book as well. You can read up on him there. He said, as a chess grandmaster, an American grandmaster, who has played a lot of the Russian grandmasters, so he's at the peak of capability. He says, the era in which I or my fellow grandmasters can beat a chess computer with AI in it are over once and for all. It will never come back. Today, machines like that at the highest level, like AlphaGo 0, will be able to beat not just the reigning chess grandmaster in the world, but all top 30 grandmasters at the same time in parallel. That's how fast the machine learns, and that's how efficient it is at calculating and playing. But he said, if we fuse the machine's capability with my capability in terms of visioning and theory development, we can play at a whole nother level. He said he has seen pairs of machine and human play against each other that have both of them play at a much higher level that made his neck hair stand up because he had never seen combinations of moves like that before. The machine can expand our vision of feasible options. It can make us more creative. It can make our theories better. It can make our visions better, and it can make our execution better. But we must play together at that higher level, not against each other. So this is being done by some companies already, machines that can recognize the human operator, that can play up things that the human operator likes and is good at, and adjust where the human operator is not good. It can also take into account human preferences on when they want to work and when they want to have time off. That's important, right? Work-life integration, you know all about that, how important that is. So above all, what we need to do here as we design these symbio jobs is to align our human values and our human capabilities, our human skills with those of the machine, integrating rather than competing. And this is where I leave you now. Keep in mind